معين أما بعد. Also, can I remind people again, we talked about this yesterday, when you're praying, if you're wearing like trousers, shirt, etc., then be careful about your back. I saw people this Isha actually, wear their back. I don't want to point people out, but you need to, because if the bottom of your back becomes exposed and it's beneath the navel, then your prayer's invalid. Your prayer's invalid. No. So just be careful about that, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, Babu Sidq. Al-Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, as you know, he likes to bring ayatul Quran at the beginning of each bab, each chapter. So here he brings the first verse. قال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. That O you who believe or have believed, fear Allah and be with the truthful. كونوا مع الصادقين. Be with the people of Sidq. And in another verse, وَالصَّادِقِينَ وَالصَّادِقَاتِ. This is a verse where Allah is describing the believers. And from the description is, the male is Sadiqeen and the female is Sadiqat. They are people of Sidq. Now, Sidq, just before we begin, we literally translate it as being truthful. To tell the truth is to be Sidq, or to have Sidq. To be a Sadiq is to be a truthful one. Like Rasulullah was known to be a Sadiq wal Amin, the truthful and trustworthy. Trust him. And you could also trust him with the truth. A sidq, one of the meanings, is to be wholehearted. That you give your entire heart. As we say sometimes in Urdu, tan man dan. Tan man dan. Everything sabab hukriya. That this is sidq. Your whole heart, not a bit of it. Not some of it, all of it. All of it is for Allah. All of it, 100% is for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the meaning of sidq. Obviously we use it as truthful in the ahadith. We'll allude to that. But even being able to tell the truth can only mean, really, if you think about it, we are only truthful when we have wholeheartedness. Let me give you an example. You know, a thief has to lie. A truthful person doesn't have to lie. They can be wholehearted in every moment. Because when somebody is a criminal, let's say, they have to conceal things, they have to hide things. They can never be wholehearted. Some of it maybe, some of it not. Where did you get all this money from? Oh, you know, I've been doing some overtime and got a few things going here and there, right? It's not. So some is true. Maybe you were doing some overtime, but in the wrong profession. Sidq is to be wholehearted, entirely for Allah. Whatever it is, it's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How the Sahaba were for the Prophet ﷺ. Everything was for the Prophet ﷺ. Everything. There wasn't anything left. They didn't leave. This is why Abu Bakr is called a Siddiq. If Rasulullah said it, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا بِأَبِي وَأُمِّي يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. May my mother and father be sacrificed for you, O Messenger of Allah. That's it. There was nothing. I'll tell you, the secret to the success of the Sahaba, you know, the greatest generation, the Sahaba, their secret was just that. They had nothing special in terms of like a hidden formula. They didn't have like some special maps that they were using to get treasure. Nothing. It was just that. Pure, anneva ishq, as we say. There's nothing, there's no special, I'm trying to look at the right word, no magic potion. And for them they had this and they, just that. It was absolute sidq towards the Prophet ﷺ. Absolute. And this is why sometimes you notice this in our Buzurgan. Because we're on the point of sidq. Sometimes people think I go off on tangents. I actually don't go off on tangents. There's a rabta exactly because the appreciation of what sidq means has to be shown. I'll give you an example. You know, when I think about, let me give you an example of sidq, someone closer to our own period. In our tradition, of only 100 years ago, or 120 years ago, taqriban, we had a great imam called Al-Allama Fazl Haq Khairabadi. Allama Fazl Haq Khairabadi. He was the son of Allama Fazl Imam. And I was joking earlier to somebody. I said, I don't say Fadlul Haq. Fadlul Haq. You know, like with the Arabic style. I say Fazl Haq. Because that's how his mother would have pronounced it when she called him. Yeah? Because we from the subcontinent, we have our lehja. We have our lehja. Like in Arabic, the word is mahfil. Mahfil. And we say mefil. And so I remember I said to one of them, Nave Sarf al-Nahav. So, mahfil, ism zarf, ism makan. Said to Ustaji, so why do you say mefil? He goes, but I'm speaking Urdu, I'm not speaking Arabic. We have our lehja. Allama Fazl Haq Khairabadi. Sorry, I'm saying these things part of my project of breaking the inferiority complex of the formerly colonized Indo-Pak subcontinent. Allama Fazl Haq Khairabadi rahimahullah. His father Fazl Imam, great Imam Azim. Imam Azim. These were the warisin of the great Farangi Mahal. I mentioned this before. In the time of Aurangzeb, Aurangzeb is one of the great Salatin of Islam. Most people don't know about him. They know about Ertugrul Bey because of the TV series. Usman Bey, Hayvallah, Allah Razi Usman, everyone's saying it. Where's Raza Bhai? We're just there. Everyone knows about it, right? Maybe people like Sulman Qanuni, they've heard of them. Sulman Qanuni. Maybe the elders, Buzurg, they'll know people like Shah Suri, Tipu Sultan, etc. Very rare. But our young people, we don't. No. Aurangzeb was a great Badshah. In his time, there was a great Imam called Qutbuddin as-Sihalvi. Qutbuddin as-Sihalvi. He was Imamun Azim Sufi Kamil. Wali Kamil. And he was on the manhaj of the ulama, the fuqaha, and of the asfiya, the Sufis. Outward, inward. Absolute, amazing shakhsiyat. He was killed. He had 4 sons. And Aurangzeb gave what's called in Lucknow, this area called Farangi Mahal. It was the European quarter, so to speak. And he gave this as a gift to those 4 sons. And on their doorstep, they had very beautiful houses. You can watch a YouTube video on it. And if you haven't, I haven't been, inshallah, one day. And they have these, we call it a veranda. I don't know what you call it in English. What do you call it? How do you say that? Basically like a balcony, but not on a roof, just outside. A front garden. But without grass. And they would sit there and they would teach. And then Mullah Nizamuddin did something that people haven't even studied it yet. People don't know. They just think Dars Islami. Because we kind of lost Dars Islami ourselves. Watch it down. The mastery of the book selection for that curriculum of Mullah Nizamuddin. Mastery of the book selection. Like people could do entire PhDs just on that. On why he selected the books that he selected. Mullah Nizamuddin. That's why it's called Dars Nizami. When you go to our Darul Ulooms. And so Mullah Nizamuddin, from that great Farangi Mahal tradition, one of the greatest, and there were different furu', branches, sub-madrasas, that came out from that. One of the great, like the Badayunis, Allama Ghulam Rasul Badayuni. Have you heard of that name? Allahu Akbar. Allama Ghulam Rasul Badayuni, who wrote a book called Al-Mu'taqad. And then Sayyidi Allah Hazrat Azim al-Barakat, Quddisa Sirru, he wrote a hashiyah on it. He wrote a hashiyah on Al-Mu'taqad. And it's an excellent book in Ilm al-Kalam, in Aqidah. Did you know? The Badayunis were a powerhouse of ilm. And another these are not individual shuyukh. These are the entire madrasas. Not like a school madrasa, like a movement. Huge, massive scholars. You had in the subcontinent, like you had Ghulam Dastagir. Imam al-Azim, he was one of the earliest people to debate with Ahlul Bid'ah in India. One of the earliest people to debate with Ahl al-Bid'ah in India was Ghulam Dastagir. Anyway, like people don't even know. Like how many people would actually know who Pir Mehli Shah was? Really? Think such a big name? You think such a big name? Think, I wonder why. Why is he so famous? You know, my Ustad Sahab, Mawlana Zulfikar Pirzada, Hafidullah, he used to say something really interesting. He goes, I don't love Pir Mehli Shah Sahab because he was a Pir. He goes, I read him. And do people even know that he wrote books? Fatwas, Fatawa Mehriya. He's got an entire work of fatwa. He's got a style of writing that I've never seen in my life, where he mixes Urdu and Farsi in one sentence. Do you know that? He'll be writing a sentence in Urdu and he'll end with ast. He'll be writing a sentence in Farsi and end with hair. He'll be writing a sentence and end with nist. He just mixed his own style. He made his own style of writing. Radiyallahu an, Quddasa sirru. One of the greatest inheritors of a Shaykh al-Akbar, Ibn Arabi, one of the great awliya, or if not one of the greatest awliya of Islam, one of his greatest inheritors, meaning the one that explained to him what he meant, commentated on his works, was Pir Mehli Shah Sahab. Did you know that? I don't know if you know that. He was a huge powerhouse of ilm. And this is why do I say this? He wrote 3 books against the Qadianis. 3 books against the Qadianis he wrote. You'd be dealing with the Qadian, you won't have the source. Where do I go? Yeah, he would have written the books, left them there, and then nobody would have read them. Radiyallahu anh. And that's one of the reasons why he had such a name, was actually because of his radd on the Qadianis was so strong that nobody could respond to it. And then he famously called them out for a debate, didn't he? When he asked Mirza Ghulam, the one that claimed to be a prophet, and he said, Mirza Ghulam, the false prophet, he said, I'll write a tafsir of Surah Baqarah or Fatiha, you write a tafsir of it, whoever's is the best, he'll be truthful. It's a silly thing to say. Pir Sahib said, no. Pir Sahib said, we'll both meet in Lahore, and I will command my pen to write, and you command your pen to write, and whoever's pen writes on its own, he's truthful. He says, you say that as a quote-unquote prophet, I say that as a servant of my prophet. That's the yaqeen that he had. Did you know? We still have pictures of him. Pictures of him. These of Ahlul Sidq. Ahlul Sidq that existed. Allama Fazl Haq, he is from then you have the Khairabadis, this madrasa, like the Badayunis. And the Khairabadis, from them, one of the great, Fazl Imam, then Fazl Haq, then Abdul Haq. These 3. Grandfather, son, then his son. Fazl Haq Khairabadi was in the middle. His father is Fazl Imam, his son is Abdul Haq. You know where he used to ride to in school? He used to ride to school on an elephant. That's how wealthy they were. He was part of the Mughal government. So wealthy. Master of ulum, wrote books and alim, great Jalil. When the British impunity took place, who was on the front line fighting against them? Allama Fazl Haq. Who was put into the Kalapani prison on the island? Forget the name of the island. Fazl Haq, along with many other ulama. And he was lynched by the British. A person that used to go to school on an elephant. Ahlul Sidq. It didn't matter to them whether they had dunya or not had dunya. Ahlul Sidq. To give up all of that for the sake of Islam. Ahlul Sidq. Ahlul Sidq. Why do I mention these names? Because otherwise, everyone's just going to start to forget, aren't they? And some people don't care. They don't want to hear these names. Because these were the people of Tasawwuf. These were the Sufis. You don't want to hear about them. You don't want to hear about them. Why do you want to hear about them? And I'll say this, and I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Whenever you look at the greatest futuhat, they were always the people of Tasawwuf. Why? Because the Tasawwuf is not bid'ah. Like I said, jingle bells around graves. This is Ahlul Bid'ah. They had nothing to do with Tasawwuf. Hakiki Tasawwuf. Hakiki Tasawwuf gives you a heart that is of sidq, that is able to open up all of these doors. This is why I said before, Sayyidina Salahuddin Ayyubi was what? He was an Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Qadri. I mentioned that. Fatih Sultan Ahmad, whom Allah gave Constantinople. Ni'mal Amir, as the Prophet said 600 years before he came. Ni'mal Amir is going to conquer Constantinople. Fatah kaun karsi? Constantinople, Ni'mal Amir. Behtareen leader. 600 years before. Persian Goi. Prophecy of the Prophet ﷺ. He was a Hanafi Naqshbandi. Maturidi. One's a Qadri, one's a Naqshbandi. Imam Shamil, who fought, and you know who I'm talking about, against the Russians. The Naqshbandi. You look at someone, when Mahmud Ghaznavi conquers Pakistan, who does he bring with him? Ali Hajwari. Data Sahib. That's what he brings. Think about this for a second. Think about this. Whenever the greatest futuhat happened, they were always Sufia at the front. Always. Why? Why? Because they were Ahlul Sidq. Ahlul Sidq. When the Ottomans collapsed and the Najdis revolted against the Khilafah Osmaniyya, against the Ottomans, did Allah give them a Khilafah? Gave them a kingdom. Gave them a kingdom. And you know why that was, by the way? They had a council. When the Khilafah collapsed in Azhar, they were going to have a council to re-establish the Khilafah. Because it's wajib to have the Khilafah. And so the plot was, by the governments that did not want the Khilafah, was that our allies in the Arabian Peninsula, which hasn't changed much, right? That you on the Hajj are going to call your own council before that one. All the ulama will be there, then you establish the Khilafah for yourselves. That way we will be in control of the Khilafah. The same way that these are all puppet governments. Anyway, it'll be a puppet Khilafah. Andrew, they called all the ulama, and then he said, I put myself forward because we conquered the Haramain Sharifain, and so it's me, I will be the Khalifa. And there it was ulama from Al-Hind, like at that time Muhammad Ali Jawhar, and the likes of these Aimma who stood up, and they needed the Indian vote, by the way. They needed the ulama from Hind, and there's a reason for that. But they needed the ulama of Hind. This is a fact. You can check this up for yourself. I'm making this up. Why? Even today, tell me anywhere in the world that the ulama can shut down the country if they wanted to. Name me a country where that can happen. Aj, कुछ से भी तुझे मुल्क इस तक की नो मुसलमान मुल्क कोई ऐसा मुल्क है कि जब उलमा चाहते हैं तो उस मुल्क को वो बंद कर सकते हैं सिवाय पाकिस्तान. You don't have that. It doesn't exist. Pakistan still, and I'm not saying this in any kind of strange way, I'm being honest, is the only country, you know, you go to even to Morocco, the alim will sit in front of the Amir, and the Amir will be sat on his place. Have you watched it on YouTube? And the Shaykh will give the dars to the Amir, and he will sit there and they'll say, Sayyidi, Mawla'i, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Alqab, titles after titles. When they give them, and I'll be like, sharaf for them, they went to Amir al-Mu'mineen, to the Diwan. Right? Pakistan's the only place where if one of the big khanqahs speaks out against them, they have to come and hold their feet. I don't know if you remember what happened when the whole Qadiani thing happened about 8-9 years ago. I can't remember exactly when. And at that time, when you had Pir Amiruddin Sialvi from Sial Sharif, who said that I'm going to do a darna of my own, and then you had to have Shahbaz Sharif come and wash his feet or hold his feet, and he said, Huzur, please don't, and we're with you, whatever. Right, wrong, good, bad, whatever. I'm not getting involved in their opinions or taking sides or getting involved in politics. I'm making a different point. That the strength of the ulama is still felt. That the leader still has to come and ask the khanqahs, please don't rise up against us. That is the strength of ulama. Till this day, that's still strength of ulama. Battered and bruised, weak as it is, still. So even then, the scholars from Hind and Pak were very powerful. So they knew they have to be on board. If they're not on board, kuch nahi hona. And Mullah Ali Jawhar, He stood up and he said to him, we will never accept you as a Khalif, and we will never accept this as a Khilafah. And that's why it's Al-Mamlaka Al-Saudiya. It's the Saudi kingdom. It's not a Khilafah. They don't even claim for it to be a Khilafah. Why? Because they couldn't get the Muslims on board. Particularly why? This is Sidq, by the way. Sidq. Sidq and Wafa to the Prophet ﷺ. Sidq and Wafa. Wafa to Rasulullah ﷺ. To do Wafa with him. Because that's what we're going to be asked on the Day of Judgment. That somebody said this something to me recently. I won't go into the details of it. But I had to ask myself a question. That if I was to see something that is wrong, or I was to see something disrespectful towards Rasulullah ﷺ, my wafa is not to my group, my wafa is not to my imam or to my imams, my wafa is only to Rasulullah ﷺ. Because on the Day of Judgment I have to give jawab to him. I have to give jawab to him. And so this was the muqaddimah. We'll begin with the actual hadith from tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. The reason why I mention these things, you're probably thinking, there's a lot of this actually. It's because what's lacking? This is what's lacking. Because sidq and wafa are very, very important, and the fact that he mentioned it is important to understand. And the reason why I'm giving these examples is for inspiration. You know what he said? He said that when the British eventually leave India, I want you to come and tell me at my grave. That was a man that lived beyond his life. He wasn't living for his life. He wasn't. I want to see occupation ended, and I want to see the liberation and the re-establishment of this land for its people and not for the oppressors. And that was so important to them that I'm going to be lynched. He was lynched. But he's saying to his followers, when this happens, and it will happen, come and tell me in my grave. So it brings me happiness and joy in my grave. Iman, yaar. It's Iman. It's faith. Like it's deen. Radiyallahu anhu warda. It's Iman. Iman is very important. Very, very important. These things, Iman, very, very important. So otherwise, look what happened to us. The subcontinent was one. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Come, split it up, put it into pieces, leave them fighting. Nice and easy. Only thing that can salvage these issues, Iman. When Iman is there and Sidq is there and the heart is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mamati wa hayati wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. All of it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala give us tawfiq. Allah ta'ala allow us to look at our buzurgan and to love them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to not do a disservice to their name. Allah Ta'ala make us from the waratha, the inheritors of those people, those giants, those legendary, activist, warrior-like, special human beings, chosen human beings that defended their people, defended their religion, defended their honor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us something from that, Ya Rabbal Alameen, Ya Akram al-Akramin. Wa sallallahu wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.